So, internal family systems is a therapeutic approach that um, conceives of individuals having a complex system of inner parts or subpersonalities inside of them. Um, and it also proposes that everyone has a capital S self, which acts as the sort of healing agent, the agent of transformation within them. This self is the idea is that it's this part of them that is their sort of perfect self. It's the part of them that has the capacity to be curious, to be compassionate, to be focused, caring, and confident. Um, and the goal of IFS is to facilitate the healing and integration of all of these various parts that we have. The idea is that these parts are developed through experiences in our lives to help protect us. And some of the parts that we have within us function well to do their job, keeping us safe, helping us be productive, helping us be honest. But some of the parts within us have what they call extreme behaviors, or they take on extreme roles. Um, and they classify these in two main camps. That would be the firefighters and the managers. Um, Firefighters tend to exhibit qualities that are sort of looked down upon by society more often. They're sort of in the moment kind of reactions like outbursts of anger, um, or maybe going blank, um, becoming extremely shy, things like that. While managers tend to be extreme parts that take on roles that can, in some ways, give us positive feedback from society in ways like um, being a perfectionist, always taking care of other people before taking care of yourself, things like this that people do get accolades for or encouragement for, but can ultimately have a cost to the person. Um, and so oftentimes these protector parts, these parts with extreme roles, the firefighters and managers, these are created at a specific time in our lives when we're um, experiencing some kind of need not getting met or some kind of threat to our safety. Um, there's a part of us which becomes exiled. They call these parts exiles, and this is usually, a child part of us that, you know, didn't get what we needed from our parents at some point, or um, was rejected on the playground in some way, and the protector comes up to protect this exile. So in internal family systems, what we do is begin by finding what they call a trailhead. This is an experience that we would have in our regular lives that agitate one of these parts, that sort of inspire these parts to emerge. It can be like anytime we, um, say, are cut off while we're driving, or anytime someone critiques our work, a part of us might come up that then has a predictable behavior, something that isn't also doing a good job of getting what we need out of the situation. So usually these parts have the effect of encouraging the opposite of what they desire to emerge. And so one of the central parts of internal family systems to acknowledge is that these parts are not bad things that we're trying to get rid of, that we need to be ashamed of. One of the most beautiful aspects of internal family systems is that we honor these parts, recognizing that they have emerged in a way to protect us, to take care of us. And just unfortunately, some of them have behavior patterns that are no longer serving us. So what we can do is negotiate with these parts in internal family systems. We don't sit there and analyze the parts from a distance. What we do is engage with them as if they're a person. And so we get to know what their job is, how well they think they are appreciated, etc. And we form a relationship with them. When a trusting relationship is formed with a protector part, we can then eventually ask that part to step aside and give us access to the exile that they are protecting. And then begins the work of unburdening the exile by giving the exile what it didn't receive at the time of its creation. And we're able to give it that from a place of self, that capable, wiser adult part, that self, that essential self of ourselves, that is more resourced than that child exile. And so we can sort of recreate the experience for that exiled part and unburden it so that it can reintegrate with the client. And once that is done, we return to the protector who's protecting that exile, and we negotiate a re-roll, like a new job for that protector in a way that is more effective. So let's say there's a protector that is gets bombastically angry anytime there's a perceived critique. When we do some work with the exile that is protecting, we can go back to that protector and give it another job, not getting bombastically angry, but say give it the job of being curious about what the critique is saying so that we can grow. That's just an example. IFS is a very effective model to work with a diverse set of clients. They can invite the client to reflect on how their inner parts relate to their cultural background, their beliefs, their values, their personal experiences. It can acknowledge and validate the client's inner diversity. So it proposes that everyone has multiple inner parts, and each of those parts have their own needs, perspectives, and strategies. And when working with diverse clients, the therapist can help the client identify and validate their different inner parts and encourage them to cultivate compassionate and curious relationships with each of those parts. So that's a really valuable aspect of this. It's good for working with clients with different racial backgrounds than me as a therapist. This is a modality that relies entirely on the intelligence of the client and approaches it with total curiosity and lets them come to their own conclusions and their own healing. It can explore how cultural and racial identities have affected their inner parts, um, and through this they may have internalized some messages of shame or guilt or anger related to the racial identity that manifests as different parts, say like an angry part or a compliant part or a distrustful part. So by using IFS, the therapist can help clients develop a more integrated and self-compassionate relationship with their different parts and explore how their cultural and racial identities influence their inner world. And this can work as well with socioeconomic status or gender and sexual orientation or religious orientation, education status, age, disability status. It all really works the same way with each of these. Internal family systems can also work with couples. Sometimes it does look like a little bit of individual therapy in the presence of their partner, but it is a beautiful way for couples to not only, so while the individual client will recognize that these extreme parts that are coming up really are there attempting to keep them safe and do good, and in so seeing that engender a sense of compassion for these parts and themselves. The same can work in front of a partner who may initiate therapy thinking that their partner is, why are they being such a terrible person? Why do they get so angry all the time? Why are they an angry person? This is a way of reframing their behavior in a way that is not so much putting the fault on them and creating this shameful situation, but instead creating a scenario in which some of these behaviors are more understood as a way of keeping themselves safe. And when it's seen like that, it's easier to find compassion and understanding for that perspective. So in that way, that can be really helpful in couples therapy. So internal family systems can be a very effective model indeed.